Hey everyone. Um, so today I had an interesting thought, and it kind of followed from what I posted yesterday, or sort of I think it ended up being the title of my post, but one of the thoughts that came out of um, me kind of like riffing on my decompression experience from this course. And the thing, because yesterday I was talking about like realizing that like I feel like I just took the course that I've always wanted to take. And so then yesterday my mind kind of went, well, that's cool. So what other courses would I like to take? And what came through today was a jazz piano mindfulness course is one that I would want to take. And and that really got me thinking. I was like, oh wow, all right, cool. Like, because the course that I just did would also apply to jazz. Like the everything that I did in this course, virtually everything. There are a couple things that might be slightly less relevant to jazz, but really, I mean, we're talking about like a handful of videos throughout the entire 6 weeks that might be a little more relevant to classical or music where it's written out, where you're not improvising. But virtually everything would be relevant to improvised music. But a specifically jazz mindfulness course would be a different thing. It would actually incorporate predominantly improvisational techniques, and it would be a matter of kind of applying. And even just as I'm thinking about it right now, I'm kind of realizing there are so many ways that the mental, and a lot of what I talk about in the course is how we use our mind, being aware. I call it focus on focus, like putting our focus on our focus, which is, again, it's a classic kind of mindfulness thing. Like in meditation, that's kind of what we're doing. We're putting our focus on our focus. We are becoming aware of where our focus is, and depending on the technique, there might be certain things we're trying to do with our focus. There might not be, but either way, all throughout the meditation experience, we are becoming more and more aware of what our focus is doing. And I talk about that quite a bit in the piano course, because that's something that's also very relevant to piano, and it's very, I find it really helpful to become conscious of that process and to make that process explicitly part of the practice that we're engaging in as we practice piano, especially for adult students, because we can it's almost like these things that we otherwise expected we just expect them to automatically happen. We expect, like, as we build skills, we just get better at things. But you can break down those things into their component parts. And by and large, when you're breaking down techniques on piano, the technique or the thing that you're working on, the thing that is getting easier, is a question of focus. It's a question of where our attention is going. And I go on and on about this, about like piano as an attention distribution practice. But that's really the heart of it. That's really the heart of my approach to piano and to mindfulness, a mindfulness approach to piano. And I mean, I only kind of scratched the surface in these 6 weeks. There's so many. What I really was inspired by and what I was kind of proud of about the course is that basic concept translated. I mean, there's also other stuff too. There's a lot of stuff about clocking our emotions and feeling what actually comes up for us in terms of patterns and whatnot. But as far as like really like taking a totally new approach to the technique of piano that I've never encountered, nobody ever taught me this. This focus on focus thing was really kind of the heart of it. And I was very proud of how many different applications I was able to find, and how many different ways, actual kind of like turning the way that I use that awareness in my own practice into exercises for people to use. That was the thing that I felt like I did a good job on in this intensive was translating some of those things that I just do into like, okay, well, here's the thing that I'm doing. Let me break that down into exercises so each one of those things can be practiced and made aware. So that was the thing that kind of like really inspired me about this work. And I feel like I could do another course, another at least couple more, 3-4 weeks of continuing in that vein, further techniques, sometimes more specifically technical techniques and whatnot. I'm blabbering now, but my point is that could all be applied to jazz, and taking that simple idea of focus on focus, I would just aim it in a slightly different place. I would aim it at, what is it we need to be aware of as we're improvising? Where does our psyche need to be? Where does our attention need to be in a kind of practical way when we're improvising versus when we're playing something that's written out? The nature of that is different. I mean, the object of attention is different, but the practice is exactly the same. The fundamental consciousness discipline is essentially identical. There are just certain variables when we're improvising that we don't have when you're not improvising. So, but I'm excited by this idea because it also gets me kind of like, it gets me juiced up to do some practicing of improv, do some improvised practicing. I've been playing a lot of classical music lately, and this kind of gets me thinking, okay, I'd like to dive back into the jazz world a little bit and just practice and see what techniques, see what exercises, what techniques, and what ways in which I can break this down, what comes through. Because I would love to take a jazz piano mindfulness course. That sounds awesome. And I'll bet you I could start teaching one tomorrow. I bet you I could start that tomorrow. So yeah, that was just a really inspiring thing to come through today. After I had yesterday's realization, I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Yes, I want to take that course. So stay tuned, I think is what I'm saying. This may be happening. Yeah, I'll keep riffing on this idea, but yeah, we'll see where this goes. This is exciting. I like this idea. It makes me feel like I'm diving back into that world in a way that feels good. It feels like empowering. It feels like I'm excited about it. So that's cool. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting. I truly appreciate you so much, all of you who actually watch these videos. I love you. I'll see you soon.